Let me just mention, so feel free to have treats at any point here. You don't need to wait till afterward. But let me introduce myself. I'm Rob Hunsafer. I'm the Director of Development for the College of Education. I get the opportunity to meet a lot of our alumni and spend time getting to know them. And I want to welcome you on behalf of the college, and also Dean Hardman, who couldn't be here today. He's traveling. This is part of our ongoing effort to stay connected with our alumni. And on our website, I'd encourage you to look at our alumni page that we have set up. We have profiles of our alums who are doing fabulous things all over the place. We have an alum in the White House, in the Clinton White House. We have an alum who's the president of Temple University. Fabulous teachers all over the place, counselors, human services people, authors, and so look forward to having you join those ranks in the coming years.
I just want to get out of school. Come on.
Of course. Yeah, so thank you so much for participating in this event. There will be many more like it. We're recording this so that you can refer back to this and watch it as a podcast with video if you like. We're thrilled to welcome Julia. I'm not going to introduce her. I'm going to turn it over to Mary Burbank, who's the director of our Urban Institute for Teacher Education, to introduce Julia. Come.
And three other fabulous alumni from the College of Education are Rob Hunsaker, Peggy McCandless, and myself. So we're very proud to be graduates of the college, and had the great honor of meeting Julia last spring during a visit to the University of Utah. Peggy and Rob and I were able to sit in on an hour, and based on that hour of conversation with Julia, we were very quick to make sure she came back to speak with our students. Julia is the author of 17 published children's books that are presented in over 500 schools, graduated from the University of Utah with a counseling emphasis, and speaks nationally and locally. She currently lives in Nebraska with her family. She's published in Parents Magazine, The New Yorker, and BabyZone.com. And I will turn the time over to Julia.
Thank you.
I'm very thrilled that you're here.
Thanks. Thanks, Mary. How are you?
Good.
Okay. I went to University of Utah teacher education program and taught here in Utah for 4 years before moving to Nebraska to put my husband through residency, and we never left. If you had asked me, well, let's just do this because I'm kind of shy, so let's start with this. These are little icebreakers. This one says, at our age, thongs are not an option. Don't look at it as an empty glass. Look at it as a full table. And how was your day? This is a picture of hips in the larva stage. Stuff that gets on my nerves more than it should. Slow people at salad bars. Holy crap, it's not a decorating contest. Never, ever, ever breastfeed from a woman who drinks 5 cups of coffee a day. This one's funny. A first grade girl handed this drawing as an assignment, and the teacher handed it back to the kid. And she returned it the next day with a note, Dear Miss Davis, I want to make this sure that it's clear. It says, when I grow up, I want to be like Mommy. This is not me at a strip joint on a pole dancing. I work at Home Depot, and I'm selling a snow shovel. All right. If you had asked me about 5 or 6 years ago, I had my degree in elementary education with a math emphasis, and then ended up going to grad school, wanting to get a degree in grad school that would be better teacher, not necessarily a counselor. But I was looking at, instead of secondary education or a degree in upper education or a master's degree in math or whatever, I decided to do counseling. And a position came up as an elementary guidance counselor. And the kids in my building in Fremont, Nebraska, like 6 years ago, because see, I never planned this. This was just kind of a weird thing. Came to me that they were having a horrible problem with tattling. The kids were tattling so much that the teachers were ready to pull their hair out, and they said, do a lesson on tattling. These kids are driving us nuts. Now, teachers, we have this much stuff to teach kids. We have this much time to do it in. If we can find a real cool book to read to a kid, we can get inside their head, and we can teach them things all the defenses go down, makes your life easier and their life a lot more fun. So I looked for a book on tattling. I couldn't find one that said what I wanted it to say. So I wrote a story about a little kid who tattled so much that he grew a tail. It was called The Tattletale Tale. What came out of the Tattletale Tale were 4 problem-solving rules that basically told kids when to solve their own problems, when to go to the teacher, when to keep their mouths closed, etc. And the rules started working. So one day I'm in my office, and this teacher I work with comes in and she goes, this book, or this is really doing something. You should try to do something with this book. So I grabbed a book off the shelf, not one that I had written, but one that I used with kids, and I turned it to the publishing page. And I picked up the phone and I called the guy, and a guy answered, and I said, I'm a guidance counselor in Fremont, Nebraska. I just wrote a book on tattling and it's working. And they said, send it in because we're looking for one. So I overnighted it on a Monday. They called me on a Wednesday and they said, we want to publish your book. Do you have any more? And I said, well, how much do I have to pay? And they said, well, ma'am, we're going to pay you. I dropped the phone. I'm like, hello, are you there? I said, do you have any more? I said, well, when I was a little kid, I used to interrupt all the time. Interrupted so much, my babysitter said, Julia, your mouth is a volcano. So I have that one. And he said, send that in too. So those were the first 2 books, and now you'll see this one is Tattle Tongue, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But now there are actually 19 out and about 7 more coming. And with that, and I'm going to read to you, my mouth is a volcano. My name is Lewis. People say that I erupt a lot. I don't think I do. I have a lot of things to say, and my words are very important to me. When other people talk, words just pop into my head, then they slide onto my tongue. Then my tummy starts to rumble, and then it starts to grumble. My words begin to wiggle, and then they do the jiggle. Then my tongue pushes all my words into my teeth, and I erupt. Words just explode out of my mouth. My mouth is a volcano, saying, hey, guess what, you guys? In my class, my teacher says when we want to say something, we're supposed to look at her, raise our hand, and wait till she calls on us. I tried that for what seemed like 62 years. Then my important words slid down from my head onto my tongue. My tummy started to rumble, and then it started to grumble. Words began to wiggle, and then they did the jiggle. Then my tongue pushed all my words into my teeth, and my volcano erupted. Teacher, I think we should have recess all day. And I'm hungry. Can we go to lunch now? My teacher was less than pleased. She erupted me right back. I know what you're saying is very important to us, but since it's not an emergency, you're going to have to wait till I call on you. It was my volcano's fault. At daycare, we were sitting on the rug, listening to Miss Polly read us a story about planting trees, when all of a sudden I thought about a time my grandpa and I planted 6 trees in his backyard. Oh, my important words about trees slid down from my head onto my tongue. My tummy started to rumble, and then it started to grumble. Words began to wiggle, and then they did the jiggle. Then my tongue pushed all my words into my teeth, and my volcano erupted. Hey guys, guess what? Once I planted zillions of trees in my grandpa and I got a timeout. It was my volcano's fault. During dinner, Mom and Dad were talking about paying the bills. Then I thought about my friend Bill. Bill can blow a bubble inside a bubble when he chews 2 pieces of bubble gum. Now that is really important. My important words about Bill slid down from my head onto my tongue. My tummy started to rumble, and then it started to grumble. Words began to wiggle, and then they did the jiggle. Then my tongue pushed all my words into my teeth, and my volcano erupted. Hey, Mom, Bill can blow a bubble inside a bubble with his gum. Lewis, my mom said, you just interrupted again. If somebody else is talking and you don't have an emergency, you have to wait your turn. But, Mom, my words, they pop into my head and they say, Lewis, you did it again. I got sent to my room. She said I was rude. It was my volcano's fault. Well, the next day at school is my very important day. I've been waiting about 126 weeks to be the student star of my class. This was my special moment. I got to share a poster with all my favorite things on it. I stood up in front of my class and started to tell them about the time when I went fishing. Halfway through my story, Richard started to tell everybody about when he went deep-sea fishing in Mexico. His story must have been better than mine because everyone started to look at him. He was stealing my important words. Richard, said my teacher, you just interrupted Lewis. Please wait until he's finished talking and then he might call on you. I couldn't believe how rude that was of Richard. He erupted me. That really made me angry. After talking about my fishing trip, I started to explain the x-ray of my broken arm. Just as I was getting to the good part, Courtney started to tell everybody about when she broke her leg. Courtney, said my teacher, you just interrupted Lewis. Please wait until he's finished talking and then he might call on you. I couldn't believe how rude that was of Courtney. She started talking right during my 15 minutes of fame. She almost stole my moment. When I got home, I told my mom about rude Richard and rude Courtney. Well, now you know how we feel when you interrupt us, said my mom. Well, I never thought about that. It's just that I get so excited, words pop into my head, they slide onto my tongue, then my tummy starts to rumble, and then it starts to grumble. Words begin to wiggle, and then they do the jiggle. Then my tongue pushes all my words into my teeth, and I erupt. Words just explode out of my mouth, Mom. My mouth is a volcano. Well, maybe Courtney and Richard have volcanoes in their mouths too, said my mom. Well, I never thought about that. Well, son, the next time your important words are pushed into your teeth by your tongue, bite down really hard. Then as soon as that person finishes, then take a deep breath and breathe all your words up through your nose. Once that person finishes talking, take another deep breath and breathe them out through your mouth. Will that work, I asked. Only if you make it work, said my mom. Well, that night at the dinner table, my sister Sylvia was in the middle of one of her long-winded girl stories when my words began to slide and my volcano started to do its thing. Just as my words were being pushed through my teeth by my tongue, I bit down really hard. Then I took a deep breath and I breathed all my words out through my nose. As soon as my sister finished talking, I took another deep breath and back in went my very important words. I was amazed at how they hung around outside my mouth and they didn't go anywhere. Then I told my story. Nobody got mad at me for erupting. After that, I never erupted again. Well, except for the time when Bill's bubblegum got stuck in my hair. But that was a real emergency. Okay, so you've been in the classrooms enough to know that what interrupting looks like at their house and what it looks like at your house and, eventually in your classroom might be clear one end of the spectrum to the other. But if you can read a book to them like My Mouth is a Volcano, it's common knowledge. And we can all refer to the volcano mouth. Everybody knows. It kind of just ties, what your expectations are, okay? So I started doing these book signings at Barnes & Noble and Borders, and all these people would come up and they would ask me, what'd you do to get published? How'd you do this? What'd you do to get into this? So I would tell them, and I would tell them, and I would tell them. And pretty soon I got smart, and I wrote down everything that I did to get published on a piece of paper front and back called Tips for Publishing Your Good Stuff. And I would hand it to them. I said, my email's on the back. If you have any questions on how to get published, email me and I'll let you know. Here's the thing. We can't have too many books. This is not a competitive industry. There's not ever enough books out there for people. Okay? So it's one thing for me to come to Utah and talk to you guys, but if I can inspire just one of you to end up sharing your bags of tricks, put them on paper, maybe through art, maybe through music, maybe through words, you're going to change the world. That's important. That's where it's really at. Okay? So there's a website out there called reachoutandread.org, and they've done a lot of research with kids, and they have found that the kids that are socially, behaviorally, emotionally, academically well-behaved, head and shoulders above the others, have the 5 R's incorporated into their lives daily. So when I talk to parents, I say the 5 R's are reading, rhyming, routine, rewards, and relationships. How often, as a parent, do you incorporate the 5 R's into the lives of your child? Because the more they're incorporated, the more successful the kid is. Well, guess what? You're going to have these kids more often than their parents are. So how often in your classrooms do you incorporate reading, rhyming, routine, rewards, and relationships? The 5 R's, okay? I started to talk to kids about the publishing thing because I thought how cool that would be to tell kids, that they could get published. And the piece of paper just didn't cut it. They were bored. So I wrote the kid version. I brought a couple pages of that. I would show the kid version. And even when I'd show the kid version, I'd get this look on my face like, yeah, right, like I could get published. So I've shown them this book. 3 years ago, I was at a Borders in Kansas City. Manager comes up to me and says, Julia, there's going to be another author signing books with you. I said, oh, okay. Well, this little girl comes up to me and she says, are you Julia Cook? And I said, yeah. She says, I'm Morgan Julia Voss and this is my novel. I said, oh, are you buying that? She goes, no, I wrote it. See, there's a picture of me and my dog on the back cover. I go, you wrote it? She goes, yeah, I'm doing a book signing with you. Now picture this. Here's Morgan Julia Voss, age 13, signing her novel, and Julia Cook, age 40-something, signing her skinny book. I'm like, well, that's great. I said, let me see that. It says, mirror me this, a novel by B.T. Julian. I said, B.T. Julian? She said, oh, that's my pen name. Kid had a pen name. I don't have a pen name. I'm like, you have a pen name? She says, I had to make up this name. My dad said, Morgan, you're too young to publish. No one's even going to look at your stuff. You're just a kid. So I made up this name, B.T. Julian. It's my middle name with an N, and B.T. stands for bacon and tomato because I hate lettuce. The kid is now 15 years old and has 4 novels out. They don't care how young you are. At the other end of that spectrum, this book was written and illustrated by a late friend of mine. She passed away last summer. It's her 10th children's book. She was 85 years old when she wrote this. She started writing when she was 74. They don't care how young you are or how old you are. They care about, do you have good ideas? Can you put them on paper? Now you might be thinking I'm pretty good at writing, but I'm really good at art. You might be like my son Carson. When he was 17, he drew My Mouth is a Volcano, the book I just read to you, so I could share it with kids. He was never going to get published or anything. Well, here's his Lewis. Words pop into his head, slide onto his tongue. Then his tummy starts to rumble, and then it starts to grumble. Words begin to wiggle, and then they did the jiggle. Then his tongue pushes all his words into his teeth, and he erupts. Here's the best one. Here's a picture of Lewis waiting to be called on for 62 years. Now, how come a kid can draw pictures for a children's book better than a grown-up can? Why? Why?
They get it.
Why do they get it? What do they have that grown-ups don't have?
Well, they're not afraid.
They're not afraid. Right. And what you said it. What is it? Imagination. There's this big river running through life. All the kids are on one side. All the grown-ups are on the other side. The 7th graders, they're crossing over the bridge. The key to being really good at what you do is to remember to always keep one big toe in the land of the child. Okay, when you're teaching a 2nd grader, you can't teach them like they're 13 or 17 or 22. You have to see the world through their eyes. You have to be the way they are. You have to start where they are to get them where you want them to be. Now, I can walk in here as a grown-up, talking to another grown-up. It'll take me 30 seconds to convince you I am a child's advocate. You put a kid in this chair, if I'm a fake, they can see me a mile away. Kids know fakes. They know the eyes. They can see right through you if you're faking that you're liking them or if you're faking that you want to be there. Okay? We've all had fuddy-duddy teachers that have been in the business way too long. Don't ever evolve into one of those. And it's harder said than done. I mean, it's harder not to do that than, you say, I'll never be one of those. Well, guess what? 20 years down the road, some whippersnapper's going to come say, I'm doing this. It's a brand new idea. And you're going to want to say, oh, we did that 20 years ago. Don't be like that. Because the kids that were kids when I started teaching are way different than the kids that are kids now. Okay? We didn't even have methamphetamine back then, because I'm old. I'm medium. I'm not old. Okay, so anyway, there's a lot of ideas out there, but they're written by grown-ups. I picked up a book the other day. My mom doesn't live with us anymore on account of my parents are getting a divorce. Do kids talk like that? No, they say because. Or then I read another one, and then the boy exclaimed. I've seen kids kick, shout, scream, yell. I've never seen a kid say, I'm exclaiming, I'm exclaiming. If a kid doesn't say it, you don't write it in a children's book. If you want to talk to a 2nd grader, you don't talk to them like they're a college student. Okay? Teaching is not a science. It is an art. And you're going to get better and better and better because every year you get a new set of paints. And you still have your old set of paints that you had before. So imagine the colors that you can create. Okay? Now, Carson, he was 17 when he did this. All right? And when he was 21, he came home from college and he goes, Mom, this book gig's going good for you. He says, I really want to try to illustrate one of your books. I said, you do? I said, oh, yeah. I said, oh, Carson, I got a good one for you. He said, what's it on? I told him, I said, well, I'm writing one on boogers. What? I'm writing a book on boogers. He says, what's wrong with you, Mom? I said, oh, Carson, everybody has boogers. Some people do not know what to do with them. He says, I'm a teacher. I'm up there teaching. I look out, some little kids picking their nose. Do I stop my lesson and say, oh, honey, get a Kleenex? All right? Then I'm on my way home, hard day, look over, and the dude next to me at the stoplight's picking his nose. It's like, we have to save the children. He says, you are weird, but I'll try. So he drew the pictures, and I wrote the book. Here we go. To all who pick. I am a booger. Some people call me a boogie. I grow inside your nose. I come in many colors. Most people expect me to be green, but I can be clear yellow and even red. Sometimes I'm hard and crumbly. Other times I'm long, soft, and even stringy. You're sitting there thinking, really? I'm here? Most people think that I am gross. Some people have even called me a snot, but I don't feel bad about that because I do great things for you. I keep you from getting sick. I am a true defender. When you breathe in through your nose, the air that you breathe in isn't always clean. Sometimes it has dirt and germs in it. Whenever I see a piece of dirt or germ inside your nose, I swallow it. If you have more dirt and germs in your nose than I can eat, I call them my booger friends, and we have a feast. When we are full, we want out of your nose because it gets too crowded for us and you can't breathe. Since boogers swallow germs, touching germs can make you sick. You should never ever touch your boogers with your fingers. The best way for me to leave your nose is for you to blow me into a tissue, throw the tissue away, then wash your hands with soap and water. How you doing back there, Mare? Okay, good. Sometimes boogers like me get stuck in your nose and they won't come out even when you blow really hard. It's okay to use your finger to pick your nose when this happens, but only if you make a booger ghost with your finger and your tissue like this. That way your finger won't get as many germs on it. If you need to use a booger ghost, it's best to do so in a private place, like in the bathroom. Aren't you glad you didn't pay me to come here, Mare? Because other people don't like to watch you when you pick your nose. Make sure you throw your booger ghost away and then wash your hands with soap and water. When you're all done, please make sure that you haven't left me hanging. Sometimes boogers like me get picked and flicked. Picking and flicking me is very disrespectful. I've worked hard and done my personal best to help keep you healthy. You pick me and flick me, who knows where I will land? I'm full of dirt and germs. Somebody ends up touching me by accident, might even make them sick. Then all my hard work will have been for nothing. Always remember to treat all your boogers with respect. Blow them into a tissue, throw the tissue away, then wash your hands with soap and water. The absolute worst thing that can happen to a booger like me is when you pick me out of your nose with your finger and then eat me. Never, ever, ever eat your boogers. Boogers are full of dirt and germs. Boogers work hard to keep dirt and germs. I'll tell you, so you can stay healthy. When you eat boogers, you eat the dirt. You eat the germs. Eating your boogers will make you feel sick. When other people see you eat your boogers, it makes them feel sick. Eating your boogers is never a good idea. I am a booger. I do great things for you. I work hard to keep you healthy. I am a true defender. Treat me with respect. Don't pick me without using a booger ghost. Don't flick me across the room. Blow me into a tissue, throw the tissue away, and then wash your hands with soap and water. Try not to ever leave me hanging. But most important of all, never, ever, ever, ever eat me, because eating your boogers makes everyone feel sick. Ew. Now, I always look out into the audience, and I look for the most grossed out face. It's got to be Mary. And I give him a booger poster. Give her a hand for being the most grossed out. 3 years ago, I was driving back from Colorado, driving along, singing a song. Look in the rearview mirror, I'm getting pulled over. Rats. Look down, I'm doing 15 over there. I'm going to get a ticket. Sitting in that cop car thinking, oh, my husband, he's going to kill me. Pulls out my driver's license. He says, Fremont, Nebraska, what do you do there? Oh, I'm a children's author. Really, what have you written? Well, I have a bad case of tattle tongue and my mouth is a volcano. And you wrote that booger book. I said, yeah. He says, oh, I just love the booger book. He says, you know, my kids love the booger book. He goes, I can't give you a ticket, ma'am. You're the booger lady. So I got a warning. That was good. All right. Sometimes you're going to pass an assignment out. Kids will do it. They'll turn it back in. And you'll give it back to them and say, this isn't good enough. They'll think it's a beautiful butterfly, but they're going to find out real quick from you that it's a fuzzy caterpillar. Don't think that doesn't happen to authors. It's not like we just write stuff down and get it published. It has to be right, and it has to be good. I thought this was a beautiful butterfly. I mean, they told me I was going to get it published. I was all excited. I told my mom here, and told my friends. I did the happy dance, and 2 weeks later, I'm in Walmart. My phone rings. Guy says, we can't publish your tattle book. I said, what? We can't publish it. Why not? 26 years ago, we did a lit search, and 26 years ago, someone wrote a book with a tattletale and a fairy princess, and your book is just like that one. I said, well, can we change it? He goes, how are you going to do that? And I go, I don't know, I'll think of something. I didn't want to call my mom and say I really didn't publish. So he says, I'll give you till the end of the week. Figure out a better way. If not, we're going to throw the whole idea away. So I'm pretty stressed. I'm driving my cart in Walmart thinking, what am I going to do? And I turn the corner, and I see this little kid go, to his brother, tongue. Yeah, baby, tongue, tattle tongue, ooh, tattle tongue. And my brain starts doing the slinky thing. And now I'm medium. I'm not old and I'm not young, but when you're medium, if you get a good idea and you don't write it down, it's gone. So I grab a pen. I start writing down stuff about tattle tongue right in the middle of aisle 5. Think I'm worried about spelling? Think I'm worried about punctuation? I am unzipping my brain and pouring all my ideas onto the paper. It's called sloppy copy. The only one that reads it is me. I got home from the store. I called that guy. I said, Dave, how about tattle tongue? He says, tattle tongue, what's that? So I told him, Tattle tongue is really bad. Tattle tongue will make you sad. Your tongue turns yellow, then starts to itch. Before you know it, you start to twitch. Your teeth will then begin to scratch. Itchy, itchy, scratchy, scratchy, twitchy, twitchy, catchy, catchy. Purple spots will start to show upon your tongue, and then you'll know that tattle tongue is what you have, and tattle tongue is very bad. He didn't say anything. Like, can you hear me now? Finally said, Julia, you're so weird. But tattle tongue is going to work. I said, what about my mouth is a volcano? No one's that weird. That one's fine. Okay? So, I tell kids, if you do an assignment and your teacher gives it back to you, that's a good teacher. Tells you to do again, they're trying to get you to evolve into the beautiful butterfly. You don't want to put your name on a fuzzy caterpillar. It's your name. When you write your name on a paper, that is a reflection of you. Okay? Don't settle for the fuzzy caterpillar when you can be the beautiful butterfly, especially when you write your name on it. The other thing out of the tips for publishing, also, if any of you want that, you can take my card, email me, and I'll email you the tip sheet. But the other big one that's really important is if you ever want to send your stuff into a publisher, before you send it to a publisher, print off a copy of it, write your name at the bottom of every page and the date, put it in an envelope, seal the envelope shut, and I mean tape it sealed and write sealed across the back of the envelope, mail it to yourself. Mail it to yourself on a Monday, mail it to whatever publisher you want to on a Friday. When it comes to your house, don't open it silly, you know what it is, you mailed it to yourself, put it in a safe place. Because if that publisher takes your idea, tries to give it to somebody else without giving you credit, you have proof in a sealed envelope with a government stamp and a date on it that you came up with it before they ever received it. That is called a poor man's copyright. It is worth its weight in gold, okay? All right. Now, a lot of my stories, listening to teachers, listening to parents. So, Boys Town Press came to me. Well, actually, I have the Kid Trapper book, and I asked them for an endorsement. And they said, do you write for other people? I said, well, yeah. And they said, well, we have this social skills model, but it's not very interesting to kids. But it's really good stuff. Listening, following instructions. You guys know the Boys Town social skills model if you've looked at that ever. So they asked me to write books around those social skills. This is the first one of the Best Me I Can Be series. I expect that when I get back to my mom's, there's a box of these sitting by the door. They were drop shipped from the publisher. It'll be released actually March 1st, but we did get early ones, so we'd have them here in Utah. But I'm going to read that to you. It's on listening and following instructions. So we've had some pretty good feedback from teachers so far. So you have to let me know what you think. When they first gave me this topic, I'm like, listening and following instructions, how interesting can that be? You guys, that's a hard one, because that's not real interesting to talk about with kids, you know, because that's boring, right? I mean, my name is RJ, and today I had the worst day of my life ever. When I woke up, there was gum stuck in my hair. RJ, I told you not to go to bed with gum in your mouth. I was late getting to school because I missed the bus. RJ, I told you the bus always comes at 8:15. I didn't get to go to morning recess because I got caught running in the halls. I was just trying to get to class on time. RJ, I've told you before, we don't run in the halls. I got sent to the principal's office for wearing my favorite hat to school. I was trying to cover up the gum that was stuck in my hair. RJ, I've told you before, we don't wear hats in school. I got a 0 on my math paper because I did all the odds instead of the evens. RJ, I told you yesterday, do the evens, not the odds. My friends got mad at me when I kicked a goal for the other team. RJ, we told you, kick this way. When I got home from school, I decided to make pancakes, but I accidentally, not on purpose, made a big mess in the kitchen. RJ, the recipe says use 1 to 2 eggs, not 12 eggs. Oops. My mom got angry with me, and then I started to cry. Then I told her about the worst day of my life ever. RJ, you just need to work on doing 2 things, listening more carefully and following instructions. If you'll do that, your life will be so much easier. That's funny. My teacher said the same thing to me today at school. The truth is I hear what people say most of the time, but instructions are boring and listening is hard, and I think it's more fun when I'm in charge. Hearing people talk and listening carefully to what they have to say are 2 different things, and everyone in this world needs to learn how to follow instructions, even you. To really listen to someone, this is what you need to do. Look right at the person who is talking to you. Please do not speak until she is through. Show that you've heard what she's trying to say by nodding your head and saying, okay. When you need to follow instructions, this is what you should do. Look right at the person who is talking to you. Say okay to the person as soon as he's through. Do what you've been asked and do it right now. When you're finished, check back with him. Now you know how. RJ, if you'd listened more carefully, you would have remembered me telling you that the bus comes at 8:15. If you'd listened more carefully, you would have been on time for school and you wouldn't have had to miss recess for running in the halls. If you'd been better about following instructions, you would have thrown your gum away before you went to bed, then you wouldn't have gum in your hair right now. And you wouldn't have to go to the principal's office for wearing a hat to hide the gum in your hair. If you'd been better about following instructions, you would have gotten a much better grade on your math paper. Your friends wouldn't be mad at you, and you wouldn't have made such a big mess in our kitchen and used up all of our eggs. The way I see it, if you'd listened more carefully and followed instructions, you could have had a great day. Later that night when I went to bed, I thought a lot about what my mom had said. The last thing I wanted was another bad day. I guess I should listen to what others say. If I follow instructions and I do what I'm told, I'll stay out of trouble until I grow old. I took the gum out of my mouth and threw it away, and then I went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, my hair was gum-free, so I didn't have to wear a hat to school. I made it to the bus by 8:15. I didn't have to run in the hallway to get to class on time. My teacher was proud of me for following instructions, and I got a good grade on my math assignment because I did all the right problems. My friends cheered me on when I kicked a goal for our team. And when I got home from school, I even made pancakes the right way. Today was the best day of my life ever. I guess my mom was right. Hearing and listening just aren't the same. When I choose not to listen, I guess I'm to blame. Following instructions might not be too fun, but when I do it correctly, I can get a lot done. P.S. Don't forget to take the gum out of your mouth and throw it away before you go to sleep. Okay, that's the first one. Excuse me. That is the first one of the Best Me I Can Be series. The next one, oh, what am I doing here? It's not working. Help. The next one will be, I just don't like the sound of no. How about maybe? I just don't like the sound of no. How about okay? I'm really struggling here. We'll see if I can get this. Okay. All right. As a counselor and as an educator, you're going to deal with some big-time issues, and you won't know how to deal with them. Like ugly issues, like sexual molestation. You're thinking it's going on in a kid's life. What do you do? Who do you talk to? What do you say? How do you talk to them in a way, thank you, in a way that, I don't mean to cough on you, in a way that's not going to get you fired, okay? This is a problem that counselors deal with all over. So I ended up writing a book called The Kid Trapper. It's a very serious book. I sat on it for 3 years to find the right illustrator who could convey the emotion in the pictures that I want conveyed in the book. So I'm going to read that to you right now. Now, this is a book like that you could read to kids and you wouldn't get fired for doing it. No one would, get mad at you for doing it. It's a safe way to talk to kids because if they have been hurt, they'll get it. If they haven't been hurt, it'll either go right over their head or it'll just make them smarter. But maybe they know someone who might be getting trapped. It's not like people just grab kids and molest them and let them go. They groom them, okay? They take their hope away. And they make sure that they know that no matter what they do, it's their fault. And this is how it happens. Last week I was outside watching a beautiful happy butterfly. He was full of life and was as free as the wind fluttering high and low. He got so close to me I swear I could see him smiling. Then bam, he flew right into a sticky spider web. He was trapped. The butterfly fought hard to get unstuck, but the web was like a vacuum. The harder he tried to break free, the more tangled up he became. He struggled for several minutes until all his fight was gone. Then he just gave up. By the time the spider reached the butterfly, he was exhausted. Fear paralyzed him and his hope was gone. He stayed very still as the spider had her way with him. She wrapped him tightly with her web. I watched closely as she sucked all the life right out of the beautiful butterfly. When she was done with him, he was empty. I was just like the butterfly. I was trapped. I met Frank about a year ago. He moved into the house across the street and 4 houses down. He was the coolest grown-up I had ever met. He had every video game known to man. He even owned the games my mom and dad would never let me play at my house. When I went to Frank's, I could play any video game I wanted to for as long as I wanted to. It was awesome. First, I thought that hanging around Frank's house was a blast. He told me I was special. But that all changed one day when he handed me a beer and told me to drink it. I didn't want to. I knew my parents would ground me for life if they ever found out. Frank told me if I didn't drink beer with him, or if I quit hanging out at his house, he'd tell my mom and dad about playing the video games. I was trapped, so I hung out with Frank, and I even drank beer with him. About a month later, Frank told me he had a present for me. I opened up the present. It was a weird-looking swimsuit that was way too small for me. He told me to put it on. No way, I said. I'm not wearing a swimsuit that looks like that. Frank told me if I didn't wear it, he was going to tell my mom and dad about the video games and the beer. I couldn't let that happen. My parents would be really mad at me. If my baseball coach ever found out I'd been drinking beer, he'd kick me off the team. I was trapped, so I wore the weird swimsuit for Frank, and I even let him take pictures of me wearing it. A few weeks later, Frank told me he was very sad. He said he needed a hug from me. I didn't want to hug him, but he told me if I didn't, he'd show all the pictures he'd taken me wearing that weird swimsuit to my parents and all my friends. There was no way I was going to let that happen. Everyone would think I was a freak. I was trapped, so I hugged Frank, and I even let him take pictures of me hugging him. I was empty, just like the butterfly. Frank took away my insides. I felt so ashamed. I was trapped, and there was no way out. It was all my fault. I felt like an ugly, bad person. I had to do everything that Frank told me to do. If I didn't, he said he would tell all the people about all the things that I had done wrong. He said he'd even show them pictures he'd taken as proof. Frank told me if my parents ever found out, they'd be so ashamed of me they'd never be able to forgive me. They'd probably even stop loving me. Yesterday, I walked into Frank's house, and I saw Justin Reyes sitting on the couch playing video games. Frank is so cool, said Justin. He has every video game known to man. My mom would never let me play this game at my house. This is awesome. It's a trap, I screamed, but nothing came out of my mouth. It's a trap. Tears welled up in my eyes. The tears had strong words, but I said nothing. I walked out of Frank's house and ran into the front yard. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would explode through my chest. Frank had emptied me. He'd made me do ugly things. He'd made me feel alone and ashamed and trapped. He'd taken away my hope. I couldn't let that happen to Justin. He was just a little kid. I ran to Justin's house and knocked at his door. His mom answered. "Mrs. Reyes," I said, "please call Justin and tell him to come home." "Why?" she asked. "He's over at Frank's playing video games," I said. "Yes, I know where he is. Frank is such a great guy, and he's so good to all you boys." "Please," I said, "it's a trap. Frank traps kids. Please call him and tell him to come home, and don't let him go to Frank's anymore." "What are you saying?" she asked. "Frank trapped me. He tricked me into doing things I didn't want to do, things I just can't tell you about. Please call him and tell him to come home now." My scared eyes told her everything. She picked up the phone and called Justin and told him to come home. I tried to hold it all in, but I ended up telling Justin's mom all about Frank and his traps. The words just poured out of my mouth like a flood. Mrs. Reyes hugged me tight. She told me it wasn't my fault. She promised me that if I told my parents everything that had happened, they wouldn't be mad at me. She even said she'd go with me to talk to them. Together we walked toward my house. I felt numb. I couldn't feel my feet against the sidewalk. What would I say to them? How could I tell them? What would they think of me? Would they still love me? When we got to my front door, Mrs. Reyes took a hold of my hand. Her eyes were full of tears. "Thank you," she said, "for saving Justin." I walked into my house. My parents were sitting on the couch watching TV. They took one look at my face and they knew something was wrong. "What happened? Are you okay?" I asked. Mrs. Reyes held my hand tight. Having her there made me feel strong. I took a deep breath and I told them. I told them everything. It was the hardest thing I have ever had to do. Mrs. Reyes was right. My parents weren't mad at me at all. They weren't ashamed of me either. They hugged me tightly and they cried with me. My parents told me that they would always love me and believe in me no matter what happens. They told me that I had done nothing wrong. I'd been trapped. They even told me that they were proud of me for helping Justin. For the first time in a very long time, I felt safe. My parents were very, very angry with Frank. The police came and they took Frank away. Today I saw another beautiful, happy butterfly. He was full of life and was as free as the wind fluttering high and low. He got so close to me I swear I could see him smiling. I watched him as he started to head for a spider web. I grabbed that web and I ripped it to pieces. I smiled back at the butterfly. Now we were both free. Let's go on to a happier moment. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't like the way this is working. I keep hitting my E. How do I keep... Help me here. Okay. Unfortunately, we do have to deal with that sometimes. That is a safe way for you to do that without... it's a diagnostic book. It's a therapeutic book. Because what about that poor mom that has that happen right under her watch and doesn't see it coming? Okay? What do you tell them? You're not a bad mom. You just missed the sign. Okay? And it's ugly and it's everywhere. And it doesn't matter where you come from or how good of a upbringing you have. It's everywhere. So, that's something that you might have to deal with in your days. So, be ready. Okay. About you. I have a little piece that I got some really good advice when I was a student here. And I want to share it with you. So I'm going to borrow you two girls. Come on up here for a minute. Now you have to pretend that all these boxes are the same size, but one of them's bigger. because I didn't have another one, so I only have 9. Okay, you are the same person. Okay, sometimes you're doing your personal best, and sometimes you're just getting by.
Oh.
Okay, but you're the same. But you're the same person. Okay, now this is the same size. Pretend. If 50% of the time you're doing your personal best, now think about this where you are, and then think about it where kids are. Okay, whoa. Okay, let's put him on the bottom. Might be easier. If 50% of the time you're doing your personal best, and 50% of the time you're just getting by, you're coasting through life. Okay? You're a coaster. Now, if you took 10% of the time just getting by and moved it over here so you were a 60-40 person, you've now become a producer. But if you are a 40-60 person, you are a consumer. Now, we all want to have this 90-10 day where we're like totally awesome, and the only time we're just getting by is when we breathe. That's burnout. You'll start out teaching, you'll want to be this person. It doesn't work very long, okay? What you want to strive for as a teacher is in the 80-20. It works better with Kleenex boxes. 80-20 size, 70-30 size. That's what you want to try for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. So you want to try for the 60-40, the 70-30. Okay. You're going to have kids that look like this, and they are so coasting through life. 10% of the time they're doing their best. The rest of the time they're just getting by. Okay? So you talk to them. If you would just do 10% more, that's 10%. It's actually 20% better because it's 10% more of the time you're really working and less time you're not working. Okay? So we want to show kids this visual of where they are and where they could be. But if you are coasting right now in your life, think about it. Think about just adding 10% more to the working hard. Think about adding 20% more. You become a 70-30 person. Wow, you're amazing. If you can function at 80, 20, 70, 30, you are a producer. My goal as a parent, I have 3 kids, is that all of them are producers. Doesn't happen every day. Doesn't happen every month. But if it's more producing than consuming, then I'm doing something right. Okay, this is something you can apply to your own life, but it can also apply to other people's life. But the thing is, you have to keep a sense of balance. Because if you are one of these people, you're not going to last in this industry. You won't. You will burn out. You will hate you. You will hate everybody. Okay? You have to understand that you need to try to keep everything in balance. So remember to keep a sense of balance. I brought everybody a penny. I'm going to give them out. Okay? All right. Thank you. Now, bullying, big topic. How many of you done stuff on that? Projects and workouts. And why? Because it's everywhere. Okay? Bullying is not just a kid problem. Bullying starts kindergarten, first grade. Gets bad third and fourth, gets really bad in middle school, gets horrible in high school. Adults are bullied every single day. Okay? I work with you. All right? I don't mean that if you don't do it the way I say, I'm going to beat you up in the parking lot. It's not what I'm talking about, okay? What I mean is we're working on this project together. You better do it my way, because if you don't do it my way, I'm going to make life around here real miserable for you. I don't like her, so I talk about her when she comes in the faculty room, or I roll my eyes at her, and I walk away. Bullying is everywhere, okay? My daughter went to Kansas State University as a freshman. She got bullied by a teammate. She'd never been bullied in her life. So I said, read Bully Beans. It'll teach you something, you know. It says, oh, just one of your dumb books. But she's like, Mom, it's right. So she passed it around to all her friends, and they read it, and they fixed the bully problem, okay? But I'm going to give you a bully dynamic that will work. You know, we all have bullies in our lives. Maybe they are siblings. Maybe they're in-laws. Maybe they're co-workers. You're going to go into a building, and there are going to be people that are going to bully you, all right? And you've been bullied probably before, and maybe you are the bully. But let me show you a visual that really helps people understand this dynamic. All right, so put these on and come up here. Poor people, you don't want to be on the front row. You can show me your mean eyes and they'll make it all up. Okay? Okay? I wanted you mad. Susie, get up here, but you need to turn it so there's no letters. Okay? Come on, kiddo. Green. Green. Come on up here. Stand in a row. I want my 2 greenies on one end. I want my red one on the other end. And I want my peace dudes in the middle. Standing shoulder to shoulder. My peace dudes. A bully's like a vacuum cleaner. Okay, you plug your vacuum cleaner into a power supply, you can suck all the dirt out of the carpet. Someone comes and unplugs your vacuum cleaner, you can vacuum all day long. Are you doing any good? Bully's the same way. You plug a bully into a power supply, that bully's going to suck the life out of everybody around them. You figure out a way to unplug that bully's power supply, they can't be a bully. Now, this represents our population. Okay? 5% of our population are bullies. They're mean to people. They pick on people. They make people feel bad. Show me your meanest, dirtiest look ever.
Now that you've made me slap.
Come on. Like you're ticked at your mom. Ooh. 10% of our population are targets. You guys are picked on. They tease you. They make you feel bad. Show me your sad faces. The rest of you are bystanders. You know what's going on. You know how mean she is to those guys. You don't like it. The last thing you want to be is looking into those mean eyes because they're going to cut you in half. Okay? Now, y'all know that little cartoon with all the monkeys in the bed and they all have the same amount of covers? Okay, you guys are going to have to crowd because this is a queen sheet. So just like everybody turn this way, okay? But you're going to need both hands in front of you and you're going to grab, where's my power sheet? You're going to grab this cover right here and you're going to hold on to it. I've done this with 5-year-olds. I've done it with college kids. I've done it with high school kids. They get it. We want it the long way. Is that the long way? That's not the long way. Try the long way. Maybe that is the long way. No, that's the long way. Okay. That's a power blanket. It represents power. Everybody out there should have the same amount of power. Okay? Problem is this bully right here, she wants more power. So she starts pulling on the power blanket. You bystanders, let it slide through your hands. Let it slide. Keep going, keep going, keep going, bully pull. Stop right here. You hold it right here. This bully pulls all the power away from these targets. I don't call them victims because that sounds hopeless. I call them targets. These targets are now powerless. They have no power. You bystanders, you have the same amount of power you had before. This bully right here, she's got enough power to make herself an outfit. Now, you don't like the way she talks to them. You don't particularly like her. Okay? You're a bystander. You have this much power. You stand up to this bully by yourself, she has this much power, she's going to squash you like a bug. But if you use your power, her power, her power, and her power, and the bystanders work together, they can carefully take the power back away from the bully, give it back to the targets, till everybody has the same amount. Who does all the work? Not the teachers. Okay? Here's the teachers. Here's the bully problem. They don't see it. They don't hear about it because the bully problem happens and you don't even see it. It's always a good idea to tell these kids if you see bullying going on, write a note. Okay? If you don't want people to know who you are, don't sign your name, but write a note and turn it into somebody, counselor, teacher, whatever. Okay? You want to stop this bully problem in our society? You deal with the 85%. You deal with the bystanders. You teach them to stand up to each other and say, no, we're done it. We're not doing it anymore. Okay? All right. Take off your bibs, girls. Good job. Give them a hand. All right. In the essence of time, I will not read that book. I'm just going to tell you about it. That book is based on a bully that I went to school with here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And in 3rd grade, she was so mean. She'd tell us all what to do, and we'd do it. She'd tell us all where to go, and we'd go there. She'd tell us what to say, and we'd say it. If we didn't do what she said, she'd look at us with her mean eyes, and we all knew what that meant. Do what I say, or I'm going to twist you into a human pretzel. Now, we all thought about how that would feel, so we just let her be the boss. Her name was Bobette. So I grew up and I wrote a book about her. Talks to the bystander, okay? Talks to the bystander, tells them what to do. I told you there's some activity books. That power blanket, that's the examples of some of the activities that are in these books. There's one for the verb, for volcano, for personal space camp, for tattle, and for interrupting. Hands-on ideas to teach kids how not to bully, how not to interrupt, how to stay organized, that kind of thing. Okay? All right. I don't know how much time you want me to take because we're going to stop at 5. But how many of you have had verbs that you've dealt with? Do you know what a verb is? Verb's that little kid that's always doing something. Usually it's the wrong something. The ADHD kid. Well, I had that, but they didn't call it that. They called it BRAT when I was in school. Okay? It's hard to be a verb. Okay? So for all you people that have dealt with these kids that are doing this and doing this and doing this all the time when you're trying to teach, I wrote a book for that. It's called It's Hard to Be a Verb. The book has the activity book full of ideas on how to keep little verbs focused and on task. My name is Lewis. People say that I'm a verb. That's because I'm always doing something, only usually it's the wrong something. Most of the time, I end up doing the wrong something. It's hard to be a verb. My knees start itching, my toes start twitching, my skin gets jumpy, others get grumpy. When it comes to sitting still, it's just not my deal. Haven't you heard? I'm a verb. The other day, my mom took me to get my hair cut. She told me I had to sit really, really still, and I did at first, and then my knees started itching, my toes started twitching, my skin got jumpy, the lady got grumpy. She went to make a cut, and I moved, and guess what? She put a hole in my hair that looks just like a pear. Sit still, Lewis. Oh, my sitter is still. It's my feet that are moving. It's hard to be a verb. You just have to focus, she said. At school, we have to sit in our desk during work time. Work time lasts for 30 minutes. To me, it seems like it lasts for 16 years. It's hard for me to stay at my seat. The other day, I started out doing just fine. Then I saw a brand new poster hanging up on the wall. My knees started itching, my toes started twitching, my skin got jumpy, my teacher got grumpy. I got out of my seat and I tried out my feet. Sit down, Lewis, said my teacher. Go back to your seat. It's hard to be a verb, I said. You just have to focus, she said. When I get ready for school in the morning, it seems like it takes me forever. Every morning my mom has to tell me the same thing over and over and over again. Get out of bed, Lewis. Get dressed, Lewis. You're going to be late for school. Eat breakfast, Lewis. Wash your face, Lewis. You're going to be late for school. Brush your teeth, Lewis. Comb your hair, Lewis. You're going to be late for school. Feed the dog, Lewis. Let him out, Lewis. You're going to be late for school. A few days ago, I got out of bed just fine. Then I got dressed, well, almost. While I was eating my breakfast, I saw my brand new football there sitting against the wall. My knees started itching, my toes started twitching. I picked up that ball and I threw it against the wall. My skin got jumpy, my mom got grumpy. Playing with that ball made no sense at all. Lewis, my mom said, you need to focus. I forgot to brush my teeth, but I did feed the dog. I forgot to comb my hair, but I did wash my face. I made it to school on time, but when I came home that afternoon, I realized something. I forgot to let out my dog. Lewis, my mom said in a not-so-nice voice, I've just had it with you. There's 2 time frames in life, now and not now, and to you, not now never seems to matter. Oh, I'm sorry, Mom. I guess I just forgot. It's so hard to be a verb. My knees start itching, my toes start twitching. I forget a lot of stuff. My life is so rough. I make people mad, and then I feel bad. I wish I could change. I wish I could change. And he says, oh, you can change, said my mom. All you have to do is learn to focus. Well, I try, but I just can't seem to get it. Well, I think I know I can help you with that. First of all, whenever you know you're going to have to sit still for a while, wiggle your wiggles before they wiggle you. Well, what does that mean, I asked. Scratch your knees, wiggle your toes, stretch your skin, crinkle your nose, shake your elbows, bend at the waist, dance in a circle, and scrunch up your face. You be in charge of your wiggles at large. Wiggle them first before they make you burst. My mom showed me how to wiggle my wiggles. Then we even did the wiggle dance. My dad watched us. He thought what we were doing was very strange. Next, I need to give you a focus squishy. A what? It's a focus squishy, she said. It's a soft little something you hold in your hand. No one else tells you have it. They may not understand. You can wiggle your fingers while you listen and learn. It'll help you sit still until it's your turn. My mom got out my dad's tackle box and found a shiny, glittery, rubbery worm. She cut the worm in half and gave me a piece. We practiced using our focus squishies. My dad told us what we were doing was very, very strange. Finally, she said, I need to make you a nag board. A what? A nag board. Every morning I have to tell you to do the same thing over and over and over again, and the nag board is a list of those things. I'll just write it down, and you can check them off as you do them. Then all I have to say is that, Lewis, check your list. We went to the store. My mom bought a dry erase marker board. Then she wrote nag board at the top of it. She wrote down everything I needed to do before I went to school. Today I used all my tricks, and guess what? They really worked. I got everything done on my nag board, and I was on time for school. I wiggled my wiggles before story time, and they didn't end up wiggling me. And I used my focus squishy without anyone knowing about it, and I got a star for being a good listener. How's my little verb, my mom asked as I came through the door. Fantastic, I said as I sat on the floor. I had a great day. I did everything right. My teacher was nice, and we didn't fight. How'd you know what to tell me to help me with this? Mom smiled and hugged me and gave me a kiss. You are a verb, Lewis. That's just what you are. Today you had focus and it made you a star. Being a verb isn't easy and it never will be. But it isn't your fault, kid, because you get it from me. Okay, so when you do have a verb in your classroom, you cannot dam the river. You must reroute it. Okay? It's like having ADHD is like learning Spanish at a football game. It's so hard. So you have to make you have to understand where these kids are coming from. Give them something to play with, and all their focus goes here. They can actually pay attention to you. Just little tips. Have everybody bring a Pringles can to school and have them decorate it. My top secret cylinder. Every note from you to mom goes in that cylinder. Every note from mom to you goes in that cylinder. And the only time that cylinder comes out of the bag is to get loaded and unloaded. Okay? It's not a folder. It's their top secret cylinder because they own it. If you're a teacher and you write what you have on the board for your kids to do, and it's right here, that's the list, that's what we need to do today, and you have a verb in your class, that's not their list, that's your list. They need their list on their desk. Because from them to go from here to doing it, you're gone. Okay? Give them their own list on the desk so that they can check it off. They don't have the internal structure that they need, so they need the external structure to become successful. So you have to provide that in a loving, unconditionally loving way. And when you have a verb in your classroom, you better start every day with a clean slate. Because if the kid walks through the room and he already has 3 strikes against him, because yesterday had a bad day, you might as well forget it. Every day's a clean slate. Every day's a brand new day. Okay? All right, let's see. Oh, I have to do this one. I wanted to write a book about not getting kidnapped because that's a very scary thing. That's a parent's worst nightmare. That's a very touchy subject for little kids. You don't want to scare them. And I don't call them kidnappers because everybody else does. And I don't call them strangers because the creepos that take little kids, they don't look strange. They look normal. I call them scoopers because that's what they do. They scoop you up and take you away from your mom and your dad. Now the last thing I want is for you to walk around being scared, because most people are nice and kind. They would never hurt you, but there's some people out there that are scoopers. There's not very many of them, but what I did was I found out what all those scoopers were doing, and then I wrote a book for you so that you could be smarter than they are. Are you ready to get smart? Okay, you don't have to tell kids what could happen to them. They already know that. You tell them what they can do to prevent it, okay? It's all productive. It's all positive. I'm not going to read the book to you, but I do need to tell you about it. This little girl's out playing with her baby rabbit, and her mama calls her in for an important talk. And she wants her to learn the scooper safety rules. She tells her that people come in all shapes and sizes, and that everybody looks different. And in our world, there's safe people out there that you can go to. She talks about the safe people, a clerk at a business, a teacher, a mama with children, those kind of things. She goes, most people out there are nice and kind. They would never hurt you. She says, well, how can I tell if a person's a scooper? Well, you can't tell by looking at their outside, so you have to be smart. So she teaches her a series of scooper safety rules. And the little girl says, I wish all the scoopers out there would wear name tags so I could tell who they were. Well, that only happened in a perfect world. But if you can remember my 5 important scooper safety rules, you'll be safe from scooping. They are, be smart and listen to your uh-oh voice. And she goes through all of them. The little girl says, I can't remember all that. Oh, I can help you with that. She wrote the word scoop on the end of my fingertips. What's this for, I asked. Well, the S stands for be smart and listen to your uh-oh voice. The C stands for call list. Always call first if someone tells you to go with them. This O stands for zero, talking to people you don't know very well, but you can always talk to safe people. This O stands for keep people out of your personal space because nobody can scoop you if they can't reach you. And the P stands for pair up. Always go places with a friend. Mama smiled at me and gave me a big old hug. I love you so much, she said. Then I went back outside and I looked at the scoop on my fingertips and I thought about all that Mama had said. I looked into the cardboard box. There he was, my baby rabbit, my Zippy. He was perfect. I'd planned on keeping him as a pet. I tricked him by putting carrots in my backyard, and when he was busy eating, I scooped him up and taken him away from his family. My tummy started to get knots in it. To him, I'd become a scooper. I carried the box in my backyard and set it down softly in the grass. I lifted my baby rabbit out of the box and held him up to my face. I'm real sorry, I said, for scooping you up and taking you away from your family. I carefully set Zippy down into the grass and watched as he hopped back into the bushes, right back to his family where he belongs. So I read this book to kids, and then I have them help me become scooper safety rule experts. And this is blank, and we've put it on as they go. And the S stands for be smart, listen to your uh-oh voice. The C originally stood for a code word. Many of your moms probably used the code word system. Like, let's say you're a little kid and your mom, what's your name?
Megan.
Okay, Megan, your mom sits you down and she says, we need a magic password, Megan. We need to make sure that you're safe. So if anyone ever comes up and talks to you and says you need to come with me, you say, what's my code word? And our code word's going to be bubblegum. So if they know it's not bubblegum, you know you're not supposed to go with them. Many of your parents probably use that system, okay? I thought this book was a beautiful butterfly before it was going to come out. And I was really excited about it. And I wanted someone who really knew a lot about kidnapping to read it. So one day I called John Walsh from America's Most Wanted. It took me 7 hours to get him on the phone. Finally, I called him. I said, Mr. Walsh, I'm writing a book on not getting kidnapped. Will you read it? And he said, sure. And I said, if you like it, a portion of the proceeds can go to fund the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. He said, oh, I'll read it. So he called me the very next day and he says, you can't print this book. I said, what do you mean? He goes, your book, Scoop, you cannot print it. I go, why? He says, you're going to get kids kidnapped. I said, what? He says, you're going to get kids kidnapped. I said, what are you talking about? He says, you use code word. I said, yeah? He said, code word gets kids kidnapped. This is what he told me. If I'm a scooper and I talk to this kid, that's one line of communication. And that kid talks back to me, that's 2. I talk to them again, and they respond back, that's 4. 4 lines of communication back and forth, and it could be just an eye look. Between a scooper and a kid, 90% of the time they're going to take that kid. 90%. So if you're using the code word, Megan, I work with your mom. She says I'm supposed to pick you up tonight after school. She looks at me and she says, what's my code word? She's halfway to my car. Oh, your code word. Your mom told it to me. I wrote it down. It's in my car. Let's go read it. Oh, your code word. She was going to tell it to me. And we just got some. Oh, let's go call her. Boom. Megan's gone. Think I wanted to write a book that was going to get kids kidnapped? No. Think he knows more about that than I do? So I changed the book to call list. Someone tells you to go with them and you're not sure, you go to the nearest phone or you pull out your cell phone and you call to make sure it's okay. Okay? Call list, I've used that. There was 7 kids in the witness protection program in a school that I worked on in Nebraska, and the call list was absolutely priceless. We used it all the time. Okay? So, I turn kids into these scooper safety rule experts. The last 2 I do together. 3 years ago I was at a book show. Usually they're really boring. This one was cool because the lady next to me had a dog with her. Little itty bitty dog. Named Norman. Norman wore clothes. We had so much fun with Norman, and we played with him, and he didn't bark, he didn't make noise. We'd say, Norman, bag. He'd get in his bag. I'm like, your dog is so cool. How'd you get him to be so good? Oh, just got him when he was little. This is all he knows. He goes, he's my road dog. I said, you're what? My road dog. I'm on the road all the time. I got lonely, so I got Norman so that he'd keep me company. I went home, I told my husband I needed a road dog. Not to use with kids, but to keep me company on the road. He says, we already have 2 dogs. Well, it's always easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission. So I brought home Jake. Little itty bitty dog. Okay? Now one day I was at a school. Now I wasn't going to use Jake, so I was just trying to, he had to go to the bathroom, and the kids were out at recess. The last thing I wanted to do was put him on the lawn when the kids were out at recess, because they wouldn't even care about the books. They'd just say, the dog, the dog. So I drove my car 3 houses past the school, pulled up in a lady's driveway, opened up my door, and let my little dog out on the lawn. This kid was on the at recess, looks over and said to his friend, hey, look at that dog. Before I knew it, he ran off the playground, he ran down the street 3 houses, he ran right up to the driveway, he got right in my personal space, and he says, can I pet your dog? And I'm like, well, yeah, you can pet my dog. But it scared me to death. Here's my car, the engine's going, no one's around. I'm a scooper. This kid gets in my space. Can I grab him and throw him in my car and take off? You think scoopers trick kids with cats and dogs? Oh, yeah, every day of the week. So that afternoon, he was sitting, and I was doing my author presentation. I found him, and I pulled him out of the audience. I said, come up here. And he comes up, and I said, today, you ran up to me. You didn't know me. You didn't know my car. You didn't know my dog. Was that smart? Would you guys ever do that? No, we would never do that. I go, are you sure? So I go to my bag, and I pull out my Jake. And everybody in that venue did the same thing as your venue. They all go, "Aw, let me hear it. Aw." Now, if you just went, "Aw," then all your common sense is right out that door and I didn't teach you anything. You think a scooper's going to pick an ugly dog that's so cute? No. They're going to pick the cutest dog they can. Might even put a Henley on them to try to trick you into getting too close to them. Okay? So what you should have said is, "Hey, look at that dog. You don't know me, you don't know my car, you don't know my dog, these will come." And then I have him come up with an ant and say, "Now, is it okay to go see a puppy when you're with a grown-up?" "Sure." So then they do it and they get to hold them and yeah. Okay? It's an aha moment. All right? But this dog, guess what? Has actually saved some lives. Okay? A year ago, I get this email from a mom in Oklahoma. She goes, "Thank you so much for using Jake and teaching our kids about Scoop. I was at the park with my 7-year-old son. He said, 'Mom, see that man over there with the dog? He could be a trick dog and he could be a scooper and his dog could be a trick dog like Jake.' I said, 'What are you talking about?' So my little boy, 7 years old, told me the story you read at school. And I listened to him and I was like, yeah, one of your stories. I just blew him off. Next day they go back to the park. That guy's at the park again in the same spot with the dog. So her uh-oh voice went off. She called the cops. They came and checked the guy out. He'd been released from prison 6 days earlier for molesting kids. He was at the park. He had a van. He had tie-ups in the van, and he had purchased an internet site, and he was there trying to lure kids into his van with his dog. So if this little dog saves just one kid, his worth is weight in gold. He's been in over 360 schools making kids do this. Aww, aww. Because it doesn't matter how cute the dog is, it matters how smart you are. Now, we've had such good luck with Jake. Come on up here. We've had such good luck with Jake that we decided to train another dog to do what Jake does. Want to meet him? This is Angus. He's a 4-pound, full-grown teacup dachshund. Now, you know, Jake, he's a feisty little Chihuahua dude, right? You know? I mean, you know, kids might think twice going up to him, but look at his face. He could melt cheese with this. Okay? He looks like a puppy. He's going to be 90 years old in dog years. He's still going to look like a puppy. It's really hard to stay away from a cute dog like this. But guys, and I tell kids this all the time, doesn't matter how cute the dog is. It matters how smart you are. Because if I can buy this dog, can a scooper buy this dog? See what I'm getting at? Okay? So then there's Jake and Angus necklaces that the kids buy with just Jake and Angus on it to remind them to be smart. You guys are friggin' selling like hotcakes. Everybody has my dogs around their neck. It's really funny. But it's like, it's working because you're in their world. Okay? All right. Say thank you. Thank you very much. Say bye, Jake. Bye, Angus. They have a very posh life. Child Watch Back, the book. I told them what these dogs were doing for kids. They flew out and watched me present to kids. And you know, the books mean nothing after the dogs come out. I mean, I'm just like, you know, dog poo on a cracker after they come out, okay? And they're like, wow, this is really amazing. So they license them as canine assist dogs so they can go anywhere, any hotel, any venue, grocery shopping, to the K-State volleyball games, wherever they can go because they're canine assist dogs. And it makes my life easier because I have friends on the road, okay? All right, so 2 more things. I have a drop book, and this is a book for you to make sure that you don't ever get stuck in the grungy teacher rut because it's easy to do, okay? It's called Don't Be Afraid to Drop. I will tell you, never in a million years when I was a student here did I ever think that this would be my path, but it's working, and it's clicking, and it's fun. It's a lot of work, but boy, I'm having a blast doing it. So I'm going to read to you, Don't Be Afraid to Drop. And this is kind of a fun book. It's my favorite one because it applies to everyone, whether you are 105 and retiring or 5 years old and afraid to go to school. The wind started howling, the sky turned gray, and the rain clouds were fooling round. There stood 2 raindrops, a father and son, on their cloud staring down at the ground. Our cloud is too heavy, it's your turn to drop, Father Raindrop said to his son. It's a long way down there, I just can't let go. Are you sure, Dad, that I'm the one? I like living here on our beautiful cloud, it's all I've ever known. I'm comfortable here, it's where I belong, this cloud feels like home. You are a raindrop, and all raindrops must fall. You need to let go of our cloud. There's a big world out there, and you're missing out if you choose not to drop to the ground. But I have so much fun on this cloud we live on. Everyone knows my name. My life is just fine this the way that it is. Why would I want it to change? I get to play games with my raindrop friends. We skateboard on pillows of air. We play raindrop baseball and eat raindrop snacks. Leaving just wouldn't be fair. You need to let go and drop to the ground. It's what all little raindrops must do. Your purpose in life is to share what you have, give of yourself, and be true. But I feel safe living up in the sky. I like things the way they are. Why would I want to leave this great place? On this cloud, I feel like a star. You have so many gifts to share with the world, so many dreams to live. Take a chance, little man. Let go of this cloud and discover the ways you can give. But I just can't drop. I'm afraid to fall. What if it hurts when I land? What if I land in a camel's mouth? What if I land in the sand? What difference will I make if I land in a lake where no one will notice me? What if I land on a birthday cake or up in the top of a tree? It won't hurt when you land on our beautiful earth. I've done it myself many times. You never can tell where you might end up, but I promise you'll be just fine. You will land where you're needed. It's okay to let go. Soon you will understand. Our earth needs your help to make everything grow regardless of where you land. Will you go with me? Can we go together? Boy Raindrop asked his dad. You won't have to stay long. You can leave when we get there, and then I won't even be sad. I cannot go with you. You must drop alone, but I'll watch you all the way. You'll make me so proud when you water the earth on this beautiful special day. I will miss what I have on this cloud I call home, and I'm a little afraid to let go. I'm nervous and scared, and my tummy has knots. There's so much out there I don't know. Don't be afraid to drop to the ground. Be brave and trust what I say. If you don't take a risk, you'll never find out what great things might happen today. I closed my eyes, I took a deep breath, and I let go of my beautiful cloud. Felt kind of weird to fall through the air, but on the inside I felt proud. I'd taken a chance, I'd started to grow, my purpose in life would be met. When I landed, I splattered, but it didn't matter, I helped a dry flower get wet. Thank you so much for sharing your gift, I heard the dry flower say. Now I can grow and stay healthy, you know, at least for another day. Then all of a sudden I felt warm inside as the sunbeam kissed my cheek. I started to rise back up to the sky right past the mountain peak. When I finally got back to the cloud I call home, my dad was there waiting for me. I'm so proud of you, son, for taking a chance, and look who you turned out to be. Wow, what a difference I had made. Dropping had helped me to grow. Change is a good thing, and giving feels great, that's all I needed to know. Whatever your gift is, whatever your purpose, don't be afraid to let go. Grab hold of some courage, believe in yourselves, and share all the things that you know. So you little utes, you get out there and drop. Okay. So this mom, her daughter comes and talks to her. And she, oh, by the way, here's the pennies. So make sure you get one. And it's not just a penny. It's to remind you to keep sense of balance, okay? Anyway, this mom, her daughter comes and she's complaining. She says, my life is so bad. It's terrible. This and this and this is going on. So the mom takes 3 pots of water, puts them on the stove and starts boiling them. In the first pot she puts carrots. In the second pot she puts eggs, like raw egg. In the third pot she puts coffee beans, ground up coffee beans. And so then that's okay, we can pick them up. And she says, so what do you, and then 20 minutes later they boil. She puts them in front of her. She goes, what do you see? She goes, carrots, eggs, and coffee beans. She goes, no, really, what do you see? This is what she says to her. Each of these objects have been faced with the adversity, boiling water. Each reacted differently. The carrot went in strong and unrelenting. However, after being subjected to the boiling water, it softened and became weak. The egg had been fragile, its outer shell being protected by its liquid interior. But after sitting through the boiling water, its insides became hardened. The ground coffee beans were unique, however. After they were in the boiling water, they changed the water. Which are you, she asked. When adversity knocks on your door, how do you respond? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? Are you a carrot that seems strong, and with pain and adversity do you wilt and become soft and lose your strength? Are you an egg that starts out with a malleable heart but changes with the heat? Did you once have a fluid spirit, but after a death, a breakup, a financial hardship, or some other trial, have you become hardened and stiff? Does your shell look the same, but on the inside are you bitter and tough? Or are you like the coffee bean? The bean actually changes the hot water, the very circumstance that brings the pain. When the water gets hot, it releases fragrance and flavor. If you're like a bean, when things are at the worst, you get better and change the situation around you. When the hour is darkest and the trials are their greatest, do you elevate yourself to the other level? How do you handle adversity? Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? May you have enough happiness to make you sweet, enough trials to make you strong, enough sorrow to make you human, and enough hope to make you happy. The happy people in this world aren't the people that have everything. It's the people that use the most out of everything they have. You know, when you were born, you were bawling your eyes out, and everybody around you was smiling. So the goal is when we leave this world, okay, let's reverse that. You're smiling, and everybody around you is crying. All right? When adversity knocks at your door, be the coffee bean. Okay? I don't really like coffee, but I have some. So everybody has a bean, and they're the smelly cinnamon kind. Okay? So take one or two and pass it on. Be the coffee bean. All right? Thanks for having me here today. Books are $10. I'll sign them any way you want. Please don't feel like you have to buy them. If you want them and you don't want them today, you can get them on my website. If you say on there how to sign them, I will autograph them to you because everything you order on my website comes through me. I'll be at Barnes & Noble on Friday from 5 to 7 at Sugar House. And I'll be on Good Things Utah Friday morning. I don't know, that's a TV thingy, right? Tomorrow I'm at Kaysville Elementary. If you have time or you wanted to come and see this presentation on the kid level, Kaysville Elementary, I will be there tomorrow doing their school. Okay? It's been a really weird occupation, but if you can teach, you can do absolutely anything because teaching is an art. Okay? Teaching is not a science. So get ready to paint, guys. Thanks.
Julia, thank you so much. We're so proud that you're from the University of Utah.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much. And your mom must be incredibly proud of you. What an amazing daughter. Inspirational.
Thanks.
Lots of good things to think
Thank
about.
you.
So thanks for sharing your time with
Yeah.
us today. And thank all of you for
Thanks for coming.
and spending your time. And hopefully I saw a lot of you jotting down some notes. I know that they are
Did you get a few
painstaking.
things?
Yes.
Okay. The trenches are deep, baby, so, you know.
Thank you very much for coming. My group, we're going to meet back in MBH in the computer lab at 5:15. So got about 20, 25 minutes to walk over there. Thank you very much. Thank you.
If you want to hold Jake and Angus, they love people.